Hello and welcome to this special presentation from Story to Screenplay. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Gerald Hanks. I'm the founder of Story to Screenplay. Story to Screenplay offers story analysis through both script analysis and one-on-one consultations with clients in various stages of the screenwriting process. And my special guest today is Christopher Vogler. Chris is the author of The Writer's Journey, Mythic Structure for Writers, which has become one of the seminal screenwriting advice books for screenwriters at any stage in their careers. And the 25th anniversary of The Writer's Journey is available now with some updates to reflect both some new techniques that Chris has developed and how the structure of the hero's journey has appeared in some recent films. And first of all, Chris, thanks for joining me today.
I'm very glad to be here. I'm fussing with technical things, but I'm here and glad to be here. Glad to share with you. I love that you're a colleague of mine. We're in the same profession of trying to help people with their writing and consulting on things, and it's great to meet you, to meet somebody who's doing this same work.
Well, I appreciate that, and like I said, it's good to meet you. Actually, I have my very well-worn copy of the second edition of Writer's Journey, which I've used multiple times to try to help me through various projects. And like I said, obviously you've been a great help to me, so maybe we can help each other out.
Yeah.
Okay. And for those people who may be watching who may not be familiar with the writer's journey and basically how you got started, can you kind of go into how you got started into screenwriting and how you kind of developed your process?
Yeah, well, I grew up in the Midwest and I didn't have any Hollywood connections, but I sort of got flung out to the West Coast by the Air Force. I went through Air Force ROTC. And I was lucky, this was during the Vietnam War, and instead of sending me to Vietnam or some other exotic, dangerous place, they sent me to Los Angeles to make documentaries about the military space program and spy satellites and that sort of thing, the early development of the GPS and the space shuttle. And so I made films for them, and then I went to film school at USC, and that's where I kind of had the formative experiences. One was I took a very important class called Story Analysis for Film and TV, and that opened up this whole world of consulting, of maybe being a studio executive who works in development and helps to bring the scripts to a level where they're ready to shoot. And I also encountered the work of a man named Joseph Campbell, who's been a huge influence on me and many other people. Obviously, many people know this, that we really have Campbell to thank for Star Wars, because he was a big influence on George Lucas. So, from childhood, I was looking for kind of the rule book for stories. I was fascinated by them, how they work and how they worked on me, on especially the organs of my body. I felt things. I shivered, I trembled, I got excited, I just felt my heart beat faster. All these kind of physical things were very interesting to me. So I was looking, okay, where's the rule book for this? Where's the guidelines for it? And at that time in film school, we didn't have many screenwriting textbooks. I mean, imagine that, a world where there are no screenwriting textbooks. And now there's thousands of them, but at that time, not many. And so I was looking for the rule book or the guidelines, and I found it in the work of this man, Joseph Campbell, who wasn't thinking about screenplays. He was thinking about modern psychology and how to go back to the ancient myths and draw out of them some principles for living. And I was excited by that. And I said, that's probably the answer I'm looking for. Campbell had a thing called the hero's journey, which was a kind of a super structure that he found in all the myths and fairy tales and legends of the world. And I said, that really seems right to me for scripts too, and for novel writing. That there are certain operations that you have to do to connect up with the audience. You have to introduce a hero. You have to put the hero in some kind of a problem situation. You have to create oppositions and difficulties and depth of character. And there's all these operations that have to be done. And a lot of this was covered in Campbell's work. So I went forward with that and got my first jobs as a story analyst and a consultant with the studios. With this package of ideas under my arm, and I used it right away on the first scripts I read professionally for the studio, and found it was a lifesaver because it kind of gave me what the most likely plot should be, sort of statistically most likely things, or just the logical things that you have to do, like I say, to make this connection with the audience, where they start to care about the hero and they start to feel if it's happening to the hero, it's kind of happening to me in some way. I'm sort of identified with the hero. And so this is where you want your audience. And I found a lot of that in Campbell. And then I went to work eventually for the Disney company. And while I was there, they had a culture of writing memos to communicate new ideas and to kind of keep the story and the things especially on track. And so I studied that and used that memo format to kind of present my distillation of Campbell and my translation of Campbell into film language, because he wasn't talking film or thinking about that at all. So I did that work. I sort of turned the crank to process him through the lens of movie storytelling, especially, and wrote a memo, about a 7-page memo, and that went around the studios like lightning. It was a very interesting early example of viral type happenings where within a few weeks, it had been Xeroxed and passed all around. And every studio, every agency had this as kind of a handy guideline for, like, these are the basic moving parts of the story and what kind of needs to be there in some form to make this magic connection with the audience. So that memo took off, and eventually that grew. I started teaching at UCLA. They have a nice extension program for adult education, and they do a lot of film work there. And so I taught a class very similar to the one I had taken in story analysis. And there I developed my ideas and eventually reached book form. So that's been the pathway. And along the way, I worked on many productions, especially sort of the heyday was on The Lion King at Disney. So that was where I got to test some of these ideas.